I recently started playing Ruined King, a League of Legends story, and I have to say that I haven't been enjoying my time quite a bit, though I'm a little saddened due to the fact that the game was delayed all the way to Q3 2021 because of the pandemic, which was way after the Sentinels of Light event in League of Legends, and was supposed to be the sequel to the Ruined King game, with underwhelming cutscenes, of course. But cool skins, don't get me wrong. Going back to Ruined King, this game is absolutely slamming. The art is cool, the music is banging, the character redesigns look insane, and the voice acting is sparkling. But something that surprised me about Ruined King was how similar it looked to another game released by Airship Syndicate, the people that made Ruined King alongside Riot Forge, a game called Battle Chasers Nightwar, and how that game in particular showed me how turn-based RPGs had to evolve in order to stop being generic. You see, during the 8 and 16-bit era, RPGs were mostly waiting games with little input from the player. In most of those games, you selected an action, watch your character do it, a nice number would pop up showing how much damage you did, and then the enemy turn will roll around and you would see a pretty number, see if he killed you, if you survived, and then all over again. And we have to know that most RPGs of that era were like this. And even though a lot of people really like this style of gameplay, just look at the Pokemon series, we have to admit that it was pretty hands-off from a completely immersive gameplay experience. But then 1996 happened and brought Super Mario RPG, and this game was different. Not only did it feature the titular Nintendo plumber, but it added player inputs as part of the gameplay. You see, instead of just asking Mario to jump on top of an enemy, you can press the A button at the right time to do extra damage. Suddenly, you're not just watching the actions appear on screen. Instead, you as the player are performing those actions during your turn. These of course spiraled into the Miracles of Mankind, also known as the Paper Mario series and Mario Luigi Superstar Saga, games that added action commands as the main point of the gameplay. These turn-based RPGs were no longer games you'd watch, instead, the player was actively engaged in them. At the same time, more options of input were already hitting the market, like the position of your character or area of effect damage. Suddenly the player had more decisions to make, making the game unique. And this evolution of the engagement players would have during gameplay would inspire games like Undertale. Sure, yes, Undertale is based on Earthbound, but the player input in this game is way more complex. Not only do you have more options on what to do when you are engaged with a monster, but at the same time you needed to be actively engaged during every encounter, since avoiding incoming damage and dealing the damage yourself needed player input. This level of engagement is still one of the most fun ways to experience turn-based RPGs in today's day and age, but it's not the only way of evolution that you can see, because on the other side of the turn-based spectrum, we have Darkest Dungeon. Take the limited style of gameplay of the 16-bit era of RPGs, add the random mechanics of a roguelike, and then break off the difficulty slider on the hardest setting. And boom, you have a game that engages the player in a whole completely different way. Here you expect the unexpected, you prepare ahead, and you start paying more attention than in any other game, with consequences that are permanent and in a place where you need to rationalize your resources thoroughly. And we're not talking just about potions and stuff, we're talking about the mental health of your characters. And now that we've talked about all of that, we're coming back to Ruined King. Now, the game is not a very complex one, but it has a lot of subtle mechanics that really make the experience a unique one, like the timing during enemy encounters, the overcharge mechanic, the pushback mechanics, the wildcard mechanics, things that make you think twice during a fight. And even though it's not super immersive, it goes to show how RPGs needed to evolve. Airship Syndicate has a really well-defined style of gameplay that looks in the two games that they have released, and I would be lying if I said that I wasn't excited to see what they have in store in the future. The spectrum of turn-based RPGs is a vast one, and it would be very hypocritical if I didn't mention games like Omori, Bug Fables, or Persona 5 as games that have amazing ways of doing turn-based RPGs. If I went into detail with every single RPG that I liked, well, we would be here until next year. Sure, there was a time where RPGs were all very similar between one another, and the only thing that changed was the company that made them. But in today's day and age, they have differentiated themselves so much that every single time a new turn-based RPG comes into the market, it's more unique and fun than you might think. So if you're a person that really didn't like RPGs back in the day and I couldn't ever get into them for whatever reason, give it a try right now. I'm pretty sure you're going to find an RPG that is something that you're going to really enjoy and you are going to want to show to other people. Crosscode, Omori, Bug Fables, Persona 5, Ruined King. There's a bunch of stuff that you can try right now that are fantastic, especially with Deltarune right on the horizon being made by Toby Fox, the guy that made Undertale. Yeah, you have a lot of stuff to pick from now on. But that's it. Thank you all so much for watching, just sticking all the way to the end. If you like the video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more of my content, consider subscribing. I'm trying some new stuff. I promise I'm going to finish the Metroidthon soon. I just haven't gotten a really good idea for a Metroid Fusion video, but I finally did, so stay tuned. Also, I'm streaming constantly on YouTube. You can catch me some days of the week. I'm doing it to keep the channel afloat because I cannot produce videos fast enough. So yeah, thank you all so much. And I sent my information to Nintendo Life. Hopefully they're going to call back. So yeah, thank you. Goodbye.